Hi, I'm Roger Holman. I'm a partner in our private client tax team, and I'm joined today by Helen Humphreys and Rob Goodley. Today we're going to talk to you about inheritance tax and the changes in the October budget. Helen, do you want to talk to us about inheritance tax and the 10-year tail?
So interestingly, inheritance tax has moved onto a residence-based system rather than a domicile-based system that it was previously. And what that means now is if someone has been resident in the UK for 10 out of 20 tax years, then they'll be treated as resident and liable to inheritance tax on their worldwide estate. And with that comes a tail. So if someone is treated as resident in the UK for inheritance tax purposes, then there'll be a tail attached. If someone's been here for 20 years, then that tail is 10 years. So if they leave the UK, die 9 years later from a different jurisdiction, there will be an expectation at that point that they will still pay tax in the UK on their worldwide estate. For people that have been in the UK for 10 out of 20 tax years, they'll remain with the 3-year tail that effectively exists at the moment, and then between 14 and 19 there'll be a sliding scale. Where there's children that have been, or young people that have been here for less than 20 years, so 20 years of age or younger, then the test will be based on whether they've been in the UK for 50% of their life. And if they've been in the UK for 50% of their life, then they'll be treated as resident for inheritance tax purposes and liable on what their estate is. The only other thing really I'd mention, which is quite interesting, is around the treaties. So where the UK has treaties with different jurisdictions, some jurisdictions have a really favourable inheritance tax position. And those jurisdictions, such as India, for example, those treaties will still continue, so you'll still be able to get treaty relief.
It's interesting on the treaties because while we're kind of getting rid of this concept of domicile in our domestic tax legislation, these treaties are still built on that concept of domicile, so we're still going to be talking about domicile and that concept for many years to come.
So us poor tax advisors are going to need to keep learning about domicile.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think we'll probably see some clients looking at planning around these new rules then. That's a massive change to IHT, and I think that's going to be a real difficulty for a lot of clients looking at that 10-year tail issue. Rob, there's been another change in IHT, and that looks more at the business side of things.
Yes, I think arguably this is the biggest change. It's going to have the biggest impact, I think, on the UK economy and kind of confidence in the business community, if you like. So as things stand, we have these two very significant reliefs, so agricultural relief and business relief. Effectively, agricultural relief says, in broad terms, if a working farm transfers, it's got 100% relief from inheritance tax. Business relief basically says if you've got an interest in a business and it's not on a recognised stock exchange, again, that goes down without inheritance tax to the transferee. So we thought there might be some action on these reliefs because there's been some kind of market distortions. So for example, the alternative investment market is not a recognised exchange for these purposes, so you can get 100% relief, and that's seen that as an asset class be more attractive to investors, if you like, than it otherwise would be. Similarly, with kind of farmland in the UK, you've seen people look to invest in that as an asset class when they're not actually farmers, again, to get relief. So we thought there might be some kind of specific action from the government in those areas, but actually they've taken kind of a bit of a sledgehammer to it and just effectively said, okay, 100% relief will be capped at £1 million of value. So rather than having this this unlimited cap, you now have a combined cap of £1 million on both reliefs. So for example, someone with, say, a £20 million business passing on death to their children, they could be looking at an inheritance tax liability of almost £4 million on that. So this is not coming in immediately. It's due to come in from 6th of April 2026. So there's some time to digest and for people to think about what they might like to do, but there's no doubt that it's a significant change if it comes in, and it's going to have a big impact.
Thanks for that, Rob. So, I mean, it sounds like there's some planning for clients to do now.
Yeah, I think that's right. So I guess the first thing I should say is I'm saying to clients, look, because we've got until April 2026, don't do anything hasty. I'm personally of the view that the government might have to backtrack slightly on this change because it's gone down really badly. And you can understand why. But assuming it does come in, there's kind of 5 things, sort of themes, I think, that people should be looking at. So 1, updating wills. There could potentially be some benefit in, rather than having assets passed between spouses only on death, maybe passing some assets to children on the first death. So that could be a change there. I think insurance is going to be a key theme for business owners to think about from a business continuity perspective, if nothing else, because you don't want to leave your heirs having to enter into a fire sale for a business, for example. Other things we're looking at is maybe lifetime gifting, because we still have the case that, you know, if you gift and you survive 7 years, then you're out of the woods from an inheritance tax perspective. So that will be a valuable planning tool. Selling a business, sadly, for a family business might be the best approach. 24% headline rate for capital gains tax isn't too bad. You get the cash from the sale, you can very easily gift it. And then secondly, emigration. You know, now that it's the case that we're going to a residence-based system rather than domicile, it's the case that even for someone like me, born and bred here, same as my parents, my grandparents, I could leave, and if I'm gone for more than 10 years, I'm out of the inheritance tax net in terms of a worldwide estate perspective. So I think those are the themes people are going to be looking at.
So I think we'll probably see some clients looking at planning around these new rules then. Another change that came in on the inheritance tax side of things is actually around the pensions. And here we're looking at pensions where previously, for the last 10 years, they've been inheritance tax free. Any pension fund passing on death to children, for example, will now face inheritance tax. Now, a bit like the BPR and APR rules, that's only coming in later. It's actually coming in 2 years' time, in April 2027. But there are some things that perhaps people need to start thinking about with their pensions. Thanks, Helen and Rob, for helping us with your valuable insights on the changes in inheritance tax. If you've got any questions on inheritance tax or the changes in the budget, please get in touch with your usual Blick Rothenberg contact or any of the three of us on this video.